I'm only a minute late. That's all right. Hello and welcome to a bonus episode of Dylan Knows. This is your host, Dylan Lang. And thank you, Scott Trotman, for just posting my retweet. Uh, I know you weren't probably expecting me since I was on here yesterday with the return of Jerry Fletcher, but there was some things I wanted to talk about, and I felt the urge to kind of do another episode. Plus, the next couple weeks are going to be a little interesting. Next weekend, supposedly we're going to Hershey Park, but I think I'm going to be working with MJ Khan again. My co-host for the comic show is open. His schedule's open, and we're going to try to set up an episode for next weekend, talking about comic books. But I don't know, since I'll be at Hershey Park celebrating my son's birthday on Friday. Well, I'll probably go on Saturday into Sunday, so we'll see where that goes and fits. So I'll work on that this week. So there will be another episode probably next weekend with MJ Khan. And then I will not be doing an episode for Labor Day weekend because I will be in Rhode Island at my stepbrother's wedding. So we'll be traveling up on September 1st, and that's a Friday. And then the wedding's on Saturday, and then we'll be leaving on Sunday to get back. So we're taking the train because it's Labor Day weekend. I'm not driving all the way up to Rhode Island and back. Not at all. And so we got to go get our kids and stuff like that. So, so this episode is probably going to cover in 2 weeks, in 2 weeks for Labor Day. So I figure I may as well get this one out of the way. Plus, I've been kind of itching. I wanted to do this one. Tonight, we'll be talking about my vacation I was just on last week. Interesting stuff happening there. Talking about what's going on in the world right now with statues. Get a little bit into that. And then a bunch of really interesting news stories, including the solar eclipse coming up on Monday, and some announcements for TV shows and movies and stuff like that. And a lot of birthdays today, actually. A really interesting day for birthdays. So I'll get into that also. And of course, my usual Czech Day holidays for the last couple of days. So that's what we got going for today. And let's start right now. So without further ado, this newest episode of Dylan Knows. It is August 19th, 2017. And you like my new shirt? It's supposed to be the bat symbol, but it's a turtle. I got this at the Outer Banks. I really like it. I wanted to wear it for my comic show, but I had it in the hamper, and then I still hadn't done my laundry, but I wanted to put a different shirt on, so I put this one on instead. So that's great. So thank you for joining me for this episode. All right, just got something come up. So let's talk about vacation. So I went to the Outer Banks. I didn't go last year because we didn't have a family vacation last year. We did some long weekends, but this was the first whole week-long vacation since 2015. So it was really kind of nice. We went down and we shared a house in Duck, which once you cross the bay into the Outer Banks, the road splits. Now to the right, you've got your Nag's Head, Kill Devil Hills, Roanoke, what's the name of the other ones? That's about the Kill Devil Hills, Nag's Head, and then Roanoke's a little bit further down the road, and that's further south. You can go to the left, which is where we usually go. You have Southern Shores, Duck, and Corolla. And Corolla ends at the four-wheel drive beach, where in order to access the houses on the four-wheel drive beach, you have to have a four-wheel drive vehicle because there are no roads. You got to cross the sand. We tried one of our first times down there. Might have been our second time we went down there. We tried to access those houses because we thought we had four-wheel drives, and all of our vehicles got stuck in the sand. So we were lucky to get out of there. So we did, and then said, you know what, we're not going to go that way because there's also wild horses and stuff like that over there too. So it's kind of cool. But we had been staying in Corolla for a long time, and then back in 2015, we stayed at Southern Shores, which is even closer, right when you turn left. It's right there. So we had a really nice house in 2015. It was right on the beach with a view of oceanfront view, and it was fantastic. It was gorgeous. This one that we had in Duck was a little bit further away. You could see the ocean slightly, from our deck. If you looked over the houses that were oceanfront, you could see a little bit of the ocean there. You could hear it, obviously, because the ocean, you can never not hear it when you're down there. And the walk was literally, it was only like 500 feet. It was like nothing. You go down the long driveway we shared, and then go down a little bit down this road, and then there was the like boardwalk that led to the beach, and then you went downstairs and there's your beach. So it wasn't that bad at all. It really wasn't a bad walk, stuff like that. So we went down with Dawn's sister Catherine and her brother-in-law Mike and their two kids, Grant and Carter, who are twins. And, they are about the same age as my son, actually a little bit older. They were born in March. My son was born August. His birthday's next Friday. So, they are close in age. And then my daughter likes to hang out with them also. So the four of them all hung out and played together. And we also had my father-in-law and mother-in-law were there also. So it was a nice time. We were very chill, very laid back. Up until this year, we would always like plan out meals like this day we're going to do this, and this day we're going to do this, and this day we're going to do this. And every couple that was there would make dinner and do all that stuff. This year we decided, you know what, let's just, get some chicken, get some hot dogs and hamburgers, get some stuff here, and just, whenever we get around to it, we'll make whatever. So it worked out really easy. The kids usually ate first since they were old enough now, they ate first, or sometimes they waited for us to get everything done. We sat down, had a big family meal together, and then they went and played and did stuff like that. We had a pool and a jacuzzi. And Duck has a bit more stores and things to do than, say, Corolla does. Corolla's a little bit further up the road, a little bit off the beaten path. But Duck has a mini boardwalk which connects all these stores, but it's not like the boardwalks down like your Ocean Cities and stuff like that. It was, there are stores all along the road, but then there's this boardwalk that looks out on the bay that connects all of the stores. So it's a nice little walk, and it's your typical beach stuff. They've got, T-shirt places like where I got this, and pizza and candy places and wine, and they had a wine and candy place which I'd never heard of before, which is weird, and toy store and stuff. It was just some neat stuff, and then just great views of the sound, the bay, whatever you want to call it. So it was kind of nice, and just a very, very quiet, very chill thing. Now, unfortunately, not to complain, but the house we were staying at was not in the best shape. See, what happens is when you go down to Outer Banks, excuse me, you go down the Outer Banks, people own the houses and they rent them through a rental agency. So the rental agency takes care of all that. The owner of the house, they're supposed to come in before the season starts and clean up and adds furniture and fix things and do stuff like that. And then they're just supposed to leave after that and sit back, and they're supposed to bring in the money. And then I guess they use that money to pay the mortgage and electricity and stuff like that. So it all works out. So that's why, during the height of the summer season, it costs like $7,000-8,000 to rent one of those houses, because they got to cover, the expenses and stuff like that. I mean, there was a house down there, which I like to call the drug dealer house. It looks like an old style, Mexican style house with, gold and pitched roofs, and it was just gorgeous. All kinds of it looked like it belonged down in like a Mexico or something like that. And it was on sale for $7.4 million. That's just to buy it. And then you'd rent it out and you have to pay the mortgage and all that stuff. That was just to buy the house. And then you would set up with the rental agency, and then they would rent it out to everybody for, 1 week, 2 week, whatever, during the summer season, even somewhat in the fall and spring, sometimes depending too. But the rental agency took care of that. So some people, they take special care of their house. My uncle owns a house down there, and he takes care of it. My sister-in-law, Catherine, who we're with, and my brother-in-law, Mike's parents own a house way up in Corolla, which we've never stayed at, but they've gone and stayed at a few times before. And I've been in their house. It's actually a nice one. But we did, one year, we rented a house like right next door to their house because we had a lot of people with us that year. So we needed 2 houses. So they take good care of their house. The people own this house. It looked like that they were just owning it for... I just put updates in here. It says you need updates. I just put updates in here. Stupid computer. It looks like that they just bought it just for make the money out of it. And they looked like they didn't really do a good job of taking care of it, because this is some of the complaints I had with it. There was no vent fan in any of the bathrooms. You know, when you have a shower and you're taking a shower and the hot water is steaming up and stuff like that, you know, you turn the vent fan on in your bathroom, and it sucks the humidity and the steam out, so that when you get out of the bathtub, your mirror might be slightly fogged up, but not anywhere close to what this was, where you couldn't see anything, because, you know, people need to shave and do stuff like that. So you'd have to get a towel and you have to wipe it, but then it gets all smudged and stuff like that. So I kind of wish they would have had a vent to clear out the heat and the humidity and the steam that was in there. They had DVD players in the house. Now, the house itself had, let me see, it had one bedroom that had 2 twin beds in it, but I don't think it had a TV in it. Then there was a room that had 2 queen-size beds in it. That had a TV in it, but it had a VCR TV combo. Not a DVD player, had a VCR TV combo in there. The bedroom my wife and I were in had a TV with a DVD player, but for whatever reason, the DVD player didn't work. We tried, put on a video, plugged it, unplugged it, and nothing was working on it. We couldn't get it to start. The kids' rooms across the hall from us, there was 2 bunk beds. They didn't have any TVs in it. And then you go upstairs to the big master bedroom, which we always let my father-in-law, mother-in-law stay in. They had a TV, but I didn't really take a look. I didn't really take a look to see if their DVD player worked. But I don't know. And then they had the main TV in the main living room. That DVD player worked. And it was a big screen TV. And then there was a sitting room that had a smaller TV and a DVD player that didn't work. So you'd figure, you know, either you upgrade to Blu-ray players and you make sure that it connects to the TV so that people can actually enjoy videos. Because I brought a bunch of movies down. I couldn't really watch any of them because I wanted to sit in my room sometimes, just watch movies that I wanted to watch and not have the whole family around watching them. But I couldn't do that because the only TV really that worked was the one up in the main room. So I wish they would have worked on that a little bit. The sink in our bathroom, Dawn and I's bathroom, is one of those where you turn the knob, the hot or cold, and then you lift it up and that water comes out. Now, in order for it to get to the right temperature, you had to literally feel like you were tearing out. So it was like you had to do that, and you had to make sure you were squeezing it in the right direction. So if it didn't go the right direction, you wouldn't get the temperature you wanted. So when you're expecting cold water, you got hot water. You're expecting hot water, you got cold water, and it was just really hard to, and you were afraid that you were going to break it. So that was a pain in the ass. Most vacation beds are hard, I guess. I had a hard time sleeping. My sister-in-law, Catherine, had a hard time sleeping in the bed that they had there too. So the kids were fine. They were all 4 of them were in the bunk bed rooms, so that was fun. Even my daughter was with the 3 boys. So the front door lock was a little rough, because there was one time where everybody went to the beach and I didn't want to go to the beach, and I was going to do some exploring. I'll get into that in a little bit. And they gave me a key, so I come back in. So I come back, and it took me forever to get in the house because it had a deadbolt and it had the regular lock, and for what it was either sticking or I couldn't get it right. Eventually I was able to, but it took forever to get, and it felt like I was going to break off the key inside the thing. You think it'd be a whole lot easier to open a door with a key, or at least get the locks changed, so it would be a lot easier to open up. So I don't know about that. The clothes washer, while not a major problem, it was modern, but it was just really weird. It was all like computerized, and it was big. And what you did was you had to put your laundry in and the laundry soap in, and then you pressed the start button, and it had on there, it was like some lights. It was like this light, this light, this light, this light, show where they were in the cycle. And one of them was like pre-checkup or something like that. And you would just sit there, and it would go brink, 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 for like 10 minutes. Brink, no water, no nothing. Just brink, brink, whatever it was doing. And then the water would come and it would make that same noise, and then it would eventually go into the cycle. But for about literally like 5 to 10 minutes, it was like brink, brink. It was like, what were you doing? What are you doing? What are you sensing? I don't understand it. I don't know. It was weird. Underneath the deck, they had the jacuzzi, and they also had places where you put the sand castle stuff and stuff you take to the beach, and you don't want the sand to get up onto the deck and into the house. You put it down underneath the house. There were no lights under there because the trash was down there too. So there were lights, but there was no light bulbs. We had switches, and we tried switching, turn on the switches, whatever. And also, some people there was lights in the swimming pool, so you go swimming at night if you wanted to. And none of the light bulbs came on, or it wasn't connected, or something. It was weird. It was just they had light fixtures, and they had switches, but nothing was coming on. So we couldn't do night swimming. We couldn't go down the jacuzzi at night and just hang out. And if we needed to take the trash out, we had to go underneath the dark deck, and not knowing what animals or whatever in there. So that was a little rough. Lots of leaks on the deck. We had a lot of rain, though none of the days were washouts. We had a lot of rain during our vacation, and just sometimes there was just little like showers when you were walking. So you had the upper deck area, then you had a porch underneath it, and then you had the stuff underneath there. So the rain would come down onto the upper deck, and then it would go through the slats there and cause downpours onto the lower porch, and then that would cause downpours down the lower part. So if you were outside trying to move around or do whatever, you had to bypass showers of rain, in the lower levels that were supposed to be undercover, and they weren't. So lots of leaks there. That was bad. Lots of floorboards were loose. My father-in-law brought his, yeah, it's a lot of issues. I'm still not even done yet, Scott. He brought his hammer and stuff like that, and he did a little work on some of the floorboards were loose and stuff like that. There were no bath mats, so we actually had to use towels to step out, because if you got out of the bathtub onto the floor, you could slip and fall, because it was slippery. As I said, there was no vents to suck up the humidity or whatever. Plus, my kids, the first time they did the shower, they didn't quite understand how the curtain works. So they had the curtain outside, and the water was all dribbling out. So there was like big puddle on the bathroom floor. And then even after they figured out, when they got out, if you didn't have the mat down, they were still soaking wet from the wet. So it would still get a little bit of a puddle, and that was dangerous. You could slip and fall on that. So they didn't have bath mats, which is weird. You'd expect a place like that to have bath mats. It's just safety. I mean, it doesn't cost that much to get bath mats for the bathrooms. There was no ice chest for the ice cubes. Now, they had the old school ice cube trays, which is fine. I'm used to that. If you want to do old school ice cubes tray, that's fine. But at least give us some sort of bucket that we can put the ice in, because we would pull the ice tray out, and we'd pull out the ice we need, and then we'd put the ice thing back, because we didn't need the whole tray of ice to fill up our cups, so we just put them back. So you'd pull the ice out, and then and then when you did finish up, there's so many ice cube trays in there, you had to fill it with water. You had to move it around so that you didn't put one that had water back where all the other ice cubes were. You had to put it someplace else, but then people might not go there. They might go there. So there was no telling, it was just really hard. And then the closet door in Dawn and I's bedroom, it came out of joint. So the door wasn't closing properly. It was sort of sticking out, and sort of like it was almost going to fall off, So there was a lot of issues with that. But it was still, it did its purpose. We spent our time there. We watched TV. We ate dinner. We relaxed. We had ceiling fans. The air conditioning was nice. I mean, air conditioning worked fine. And they had dual air conditioners, so the whole house was cool. So it was never too hot, which some houses, they don't have that, and it gets kind of steamy and hot, and it's hard to sleep. But it was nice sleeping, and a lot of times they had dark curtains, so the rooms were dark enough to sleep in, so that was good. And the weather, not much you can do about the weather. We had a Sunday to Sunday rental, so when we got down there on Sunday, it was fine. But then when we after we had unloaded the van and was just getting settled in, a storm rolled in, and we had heavy rain and thunder and lightning, and that was okay. It's nice, we weren't going anywhere. And then Monday, our first full day there, early in the morning, like at 5 a.m., we had a thunderstorm roll through for a while, which was kind of nice. And then it was kind of a mixed bag, kind of cloudy day, sun popped through a little bit. It was cool. It was like in the upper 70s, which was nice. And so we decided, we're here at the beach. We want to go down the beach. So we went down to the beach and we hung out on the beach for a few hours, but then you can see the storms rolling in. So we took it to the very last second. It just started to rain. And so as we were packing up and heading back to the house, this downpour came down on us as we were walking back from the beach. That's never happened before at any time we've done that. So that was kind of cool. So, I was already soaking wet from being in the ocean, and I hadn't put a shirt on the whole time. So I had a shirt, but it's like, I'm not going to put it on because it's raining. It's just going to get soaking wet. I'm already wet as it is. So I'll just walk. So I walked back, carrying stuff in the pouring rain, and it was pouring. It wasn't light rain. It was like and thundering and lightning. So we got everybody in safe. And then as soon as we got in the house and we got, changed, stuff like that, it cleared out, so, and then it had an okay day. And then let's see, I'm trying to remember what we did Tuesday. Tuesday was a beach day. It was a nice beach day. It was like sunny and warm. So we spent time at the beach, and that was good. And then Wednesday was another sunny beach day. And that was really cool also because there was dolphins swimming near us, and there was dive bombing, pelicans that were getting fish that we could see them, literally it was like straight down, like that. It was really cool to see that. And I built a really neat kind of sandcastle. Dawn took the pictures. I don't think she's posted them yet, so I don't know if she will or not. But she does have pictures of the sandcastle I built. I didn't want to take my phone because of the sand and stuff like that, and because I wasn't going to really be sitting out. It's so bright on the beach anyway, and it's sandy and wet from being in the ocean. I didn't want to get it damaged, so I just left the phone in the house. So that was good. And then Thursday, I didn't want to go to the beach, so everybody else did. I decided I wanted to try to find a comic book store. Now, I had done the comic shop locator service and realized that there was actually a comic book store in Kill Devil Hills. It's like, okay, it might be kind of cool to check it out. I never knew that there was a comic book store, so I got the directions. I went looking for it, and I couldn't find it right away, so I drove all the way down to Nags Head, and then I did a U-turn, double-checked the directions, and then discovered where it was and came back and then found it. All I can say about that was the person who worked there was nice, but the shop itself was a piece of crap. It was small. It was in a small little strip mall. It was small. It was mostly a gaming place. They had a whole section that had a giant gaming table, which is cool. If you want to be a gaming thing, that's fine. But it said it sold comics also, and they had a shelf of comics, and they were in alphabetical order. So they weren't in Marvel, DC's, and Independence. They were in alphabetical order, and they only had like maybe 1 or 2 issues of everything. So I was there looking for Mr. Miracle #1. They didn't. They bought like 2 issues of it, and they were already sold out. So I was like, okay. And I was like, okay, I don't think I'll ever come back to this. So I did some exploring. I drove up to Corolla, and I did some Pokemon Go hunting, which I'll talk about in a second. And then I came back. And then Friday was the boardwalk. So we decided to go to the boardwalk, as I told you about. We have the boardwalk there. Oh no, wait. So yeah, and then Tuesday we also walked from our house to Duck and did some shopping. I forgot about that. But then on the Friday, the whole family went down to the boardwalk area, and we walked around there. And as I said, they had a really cool wine and candy shop, which is really neat. And then I got this shirt. I wanted like the Kitty Hawk kites, and we had pizza. So while we were walking, you could see a storm. It had stormed again early in the morning that day, Friday. And then as we were walking on the boardwalk, you could see it. The sound was getting pitch black, and you could see the rain coming. So like, oh, there's a storm coming. So luckily we found a pizza joint that had an outdoor like patio area that was covered, but it had windows, cut out windows, so you could see the bay and stuff like that, the sound. So we got a table, and just as the rain started hitting, so the rain's pounding, and we're getting our pizza and eating, and then all of a sudden the wind shifts and it starts raining in on us while we're eating pizza. So that was interesting. Going back to Tuesday, I just remembered So we went to the beach in the morning, and then in the afternoon we decided to walk to Duck and do some shopping because it wasn't that far of a walk. And as we were walking back, we got caught in the rain on that also. So we got caught in the rain a couple times. And then Saturday was just sort of chill and relaxed day, reading some stuff. We did something. I don't remember what we did. We went somewhere on Saturday and did some cleanup stuff. And then Sunday we left. And then Sunday when we were packing up the vans early in the morning, we had another rainstorm. So in the pouring rain, I was packing up our vans. So it was off and on weather-wise. But as I said, we didn't have a totally rained out day. I got caught up on a lot of comics I wanted to read, and we watched some football, and because preseason football started, we watched some baseball, and we played Yahtzee, and slept in and napped. So it was nice. The kids, as I said, had a blast, playing together. Saw a little lizard my first day there across the driveway we were in, and didn't see any more the rest of the time there. We saw a snake in the Sound, which was neat. As I said, dolphins and pelicans, and I saw like a wild cat running around doing stuff, and lots of dogs on the beach. So lots of animals as well. And then Dawn is more so obsessed with Pokemon Go than I am. I mean, I still like Pokemon Go, but Dawn is like really into it. And we joined the Outer Banks Facebook club so we could, see if there are any raids, because the day we were down the beach, the last legendary Zapdos came out. So we were going to go and catch some. So we actually went to a bunch of raids and met a bunch of people through the Facebook page who were on vacation the same time we were, and were Pokemon Go fans. And we actually went raiding with them about 3 or 4 times. They're from Pittsburgh. They're really cool people. And we met a few other people, and we had fun. We caught our Zapdoses, and we were good. And we tried to do a few other things as well, and catch some other stuff. There were some interesting things down there, but nothing really spectacular. I mean, I got a Miltank, which is like a cow Pokemon, which is kind of neat. And as I said, I got the Zapdos legendary, and we got a Moltres legendary early on. We got there too. So that was good. So we did that, and that was a lot of fun. And I'll talk more about Pokemon Go in a little bit. Maybe I won't cover this. There was also, what is that? Donut on a Stick, which is a store. It was really cool. It literally has a stick with like 3 or 4 little donuts on it. You picked up and you ate it that way. That's how you ate your donuts. That was kind of neat. There also was a shop that had chicken charades, which was a game where you would do charades, and you had like 10 seconds to figure out what the person was doing. And if you couldn't figure it out, they would squeeze a rubber chicken and make a rock noise. So that was kind of interesting about that. Yeah, I was going to talk about the family dynamics of the beach, but I don't think I'm going to. It's more of a personal insight, and I don't know if my family members are going to do that. Look, I love my in-laws to death, but they're just, some things about them that made me feel guilty for wanting to sleep in and not really do anything. Because they're just so up and I felt guilty for sleeping in because I could hear them up and the kids were. It's my own personal thing, and I'm not going to deal with that right now. So I'm just going to cross that out. It was just because I didn't know if I was going to have a lot of stuff to talk about, so I was going to add that in there. But I actually do have a lot of stuff to talk about, so I'm just going to ignore that. So I did that. It got me thinking, though, when you get down to the Outer Banks, you're not allowed to get in till like 3 o'clock unless you get early check-in. Then usually you can get in by about 1 o'clock, because the people who were there previous have until like 9 or 10 a.m. to get out, and then the cleaners have to come in and they have to clean the house, and then you can come in after that. Now, when it comes to the beach houses, there's majority of them are Saturday to Saturday rentals. There are a lot of Sunday to Sunday rentals also, and maybe the occasional Friday to Friday ones. But it got me thinking, is like, what about Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday? I don't know of any Monday to Monday rentals, or Tuesday, or Wednesday, or stuff like that. So what do these cleaning people do during the rest of the week? Because we get our house cleaned once, and that's when we're leaving, or when before we get there, they clean the house, and then after we leave, they clean the house. That's it. And there's a bunch of houses down there. So how does that work? And do they all have to be done by like 3 o'clock? So is that like, or are there specific ones that, you get, early check-in, so that gets priority to get done first, and then you hit the other houses? I mean, is that what you do for the cleaning? It was a rhetorical question that came up in my head driving home. It was actually 6 to 7 hour trip back home. It was one of the things that crossed my mind, is like, I wonder what they do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, because Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I mean, Friday might not even be that bad either, because I know there are some Friday to Friday rentals, but there's a lot of houses down there. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, you've got Corolla, and you've got Duck, and you've got Southern States, and they all have multiple houses, multiple streets. So I don't quite, is the cleaning crew humongous? Are they just that fast? It boggles my mind. It's something that makes me think about, how do they actually go about doing the cleaning, because it is a lot of houses, and getting it done all within the right amount of time. Because they got to do the laundry, not laundry. They got to change the beds. They got to clean the toilets and the bathrooms. And some places have 3 to 4 to 5 bathrooms and 3 to 4 to 5 bedrooms. So some places have carpeting, so maybe they have to vacuum that, or maybe they do a lot of cleaning. It probably takes a little bit of time, so there's got to be a lot of cleaners. But then it only seems like a Friday, Saturday to Sunday window. You're busy, and then the rest of the week is just like, okay, what do we do now? Because, as I said, I've never had any cleaning crew come while we were there. Now, the pool cleaner comes like on Wednesdays, but that's it. Just a rhetorical question that went through my head. It was kind of interesting. And then it must be interesting to work down at a place like that, because you see different people all the time, every week. It must be interesting to see, different people from different walks of life, different personalities, different ways of doing things, buying different things, and looking different, and knowing full well that they're all down here maybe just for a week to 2 weeks. It's just another rhetorical thing that just went through my head. So it was kind of neat. So other than that, I mean, it was, pretty nice time. Speaking of my father-in-law, excuse me, Scott, sorry. Something else interesting happened this week. Let's see, a month or so ago, my father-in-law and mother-in-law, for Christmas, what they do is they ask all their kids. They have 3 kids. They say, for Christmas, what would you like us to get for you? Would you like small presents, or would you like one big present, something that you've been wanting to get? Like one year we got the freezer we have down here, and one year we got new carpeting, and they paid for all that stuff like that. And then they still give us presents. It's just not a lot of stuff, not a lot of presents. They spend a lot of it on the kids, obviously, but for their kids, they like to say, what do you want from us? Something that you've been wanting to do, but you can't afford it or save money for. So it's always helpful, and I'm always thankful for doing that. So this year we wanted to get the new door, because our door was a mess. I mean, it was corroded. I mean, we hadn't changed the door in 13 years when we moved in here. And even then, they probably hadn't changed in 17 years. So it was getting corroded and loose, and the door is like almost coming off its hinges, and there was the frame around it was getting ready to fall off, and it looked really, really crappy. And I think back in February, I did an episode where I had to bitch a little bit because somebody left a note on my window saying, your house is a disgrace to the neighborhood. You need to get this fixed. And we were planning on doing it. We just didn't have the money. So we asked if they could pay for a new door for us. So they've had a bunch of work done on their house. So they are friends with these guys. So they talked to this guy, and my father-in-law, who's retired, brought him up here to the house, and they did an estimate, and then they okayed it. And my father-in-law came up here while my kids were at school, and my wife and I were at work, and they replaced the door. Maybe it was during camp. I can't remember when they replaced the door. I think it's only been a couple months. So they replaced the door while we were away, and it was nice, and it's a great looking door and stuff like that. So let's see, we came back on Sunday, this past Sunday. So it was like maybe Tuesday, I guess, Monday or Tuesday. We were putting the kids to bed, and my father-in-law called and left a message saying, hey, give me a call back. I want to talk to you about, getting some other stuff done at the house. And I didn't really think much about it. I was like, oh, okay. And I told my wife, hey, call your dad, whatever. And I went off and I did something, and then I didn't hear much about it anymore. So then I came back the other day. I guess it was Thursday. Yeah. So I leave for work on Thursday. And I go and pick up the kids. And as we come back, something looks a little off at the house. I was like, I can't tell what it is, but something looks off at the house. So I go in, and there's all kinds of weird stuff inside the house. And I look around and I notice stuff has been moved around and cleaned up and stuff like that. And I flip the light switch, and the light that hasn't been working on our doorway is now working. I was like, okay, that's interesting. And then I can see out to our deck. Our deck looks totally different. And I was like, what in the world? So I go out, look on the deck. They had cleaned it, pressure washed it. So now all the grime, it was back to its wood color. It's like, okay, what's going on? And then my daughter noticed, did you notice a new faucet in the kitchen? And yeah, sure enough, there's a new faucet in the kitchen. And then there's a new faucet in our bathroom down here. And then there's still junk all over the place. I was like, what is going on? So I texted Dawn. I was like, oh yeah, the budget for the door wasn't as much as we thought it would be. So there was still money left over. And the guy suggested, using that leftover money to do some cosmetic repairs around the house. So in the end, we got new faucets for the kitchen and our bathroom down here. We got the deck, power cleaned, power washed. They painted the door and the frames around the door and stuff like that. They cleaned out our backyard. Our backyard back there was a freaking disaster. It was a jungle with weeds and shit and junk everywhere. And they cleaned that all up. And it looks great. And they also did the front also and did a bunch of weeding up the front. My mom was the one who was going to be doing that, but she's been having her own issues lately. And they fixed all of our lighting. I mean, the stairway over here has been dark forever, and it's fixed now. The light up in the front, as I said, hasn't been working forever. That's working now. They put in a CO2 monitor by our heater. So, we don't get carbon monoxide poisoning. And they're not done yet. Apparently, there's still some stuff lingering around the house. I have no idea what else they're going to do. But it's really, really cool and unexpected. So it was kind of nice. So thanks a lot for that. My father-in-law was great about that. I don't really want to talk about politics just yet. I'll do that near the end. But so I'm going through my Facebook feed, and I follow a lot of different groups, and I start seeing a lot of happy birthdays. Well, dang, if they're Scott Troutman says, well, dang, if they're feeling that generous, me and Luke have some work we need done around the condo. Well, you know what? I don't know if they go down that far, Scott, but they're very good price, and they do some good work. They did a really good job of the remodel of my my in-laws' house. It looks really great. But yeah, as I said, I mean, they had the budget. They came in way under budget, and they had some extra money. My dad said, "Hey, fix some stuff in here," and they're like, "Yeah, sure, why not?" It's amazing what they did. But yeah, it's funny. But so I belonged to a lot of different groups, and I started seeing a bunch of happy birthdays and happy birthday to this and happy birthday to that. And I was like, dang, there's a lot of birthdays. So I went in to Wikipedia just to check to see whose birthdays it are this week. And this is who we got. We got Bill Clinton's birthdays today, former President Bill Clinton's birthday. Orioles shortstop J.J. Hardy, who's probably going to retire soon because he always gets hurt. And we have a new shortstop for the future for the Orioles, but I saw something for him. Kirk Cousins, the quarterback for the Redskins, who is my wife's team. His birthday's today. Matthew Perry, who played Chandler on Friends, his birthday's today. Gene Roddenberry, who created Star Trek's birthday was today, and he passed away, obviously. And Jonathan Frakes, who was in Star Trek Next Generation, his birthday's today, too. And Adam Arkin's birthday, who was Adam in the Northern Exposure series. It was his birthday today, too, so happy birthday to y'all. It was just weird, just all these groups that I follow just posting, happy birthday to this person, happy birthday to this, happy birthday to this person, happy birthday. It's like, wow, it seems like a lot of people's birthdays is today. So that's kind of crazy. And while we're at it, while we're talking about holidays here, for those who've watched the show before, know that there's something called checkiday.com or at checkiday on Twitter. And they do every day is a holiday. And they let us know what every holiday is. So today, let's see, check ID. So today's holidays are as follows. Black Cow Root Beer Float Day. Now, we called it Brown Cow, and that's where it's a regular root beer float. You get root beer and vanilla ice cream. Is a Black Cow like Pepsi or Coke? And let's see, what's the description? No, it doesn't really have a description of it. But yeah, so we call it Brown Cows, and I'm assuming it's the same thing, but we use root beer and vanilla ice cream. I haven't had one of those in a while. Maybe after the show, because I do have some root beer upstairs, but I don't have vanilla ice cream. I still have some Twinkie ice cream. Maybe. International Bow Day, or Bow Day. Bow, is it International Bow to People? Let me see. Or is it bow as in like bow ties? It's bow tie. It's International Bow Tie Day. So International Bow Tie Day is today. International Geocaching Day. Geocaching, C-A-C-H-I-N-G, Caching Day. Today's International Homeless Animals Day. It's also known as Clear Out the Shelter. So you go, and if you are looking for a pet, go to a shelter and get your pet there. So it's International Homeless Animal Day. It's National Aviation Day, National Honeybee Day, National Hot and Spicy Food Day, National Potato Day. We didn't have any potatoes today, though. National Sandcastle and Sculpture Day, which I was at the beach so I could do my sandcastle and sculptures. World Humanitarian Day, World Photo Day, and that was all for today. Yesterday, Friday was Helium Discovery Day, Mail Order Catalog Day, National Bad Poetry Day, National Fajita Day was yesterday, National Ice Cream Pie Day was yesterday, National Men's Grooming Day was yesterday, National Soft Ice Cream Day, yesterday Serendipity Day. Thursday was Baby Boomers Recognition Day, Balloon Airmail Day. What the hell? National Number 2 Pencil Day was Thursday. National Black Cat Appreciation Day was Thursday also. National I Love My Feet Day was Thursday. National Nonprofit Day was also Thursday. National Thrift Shop Day was Thursday. National Vanilla Custard Day was Thursday. So, and then let's take a sneak preview of what tomorrow is going to bring, because we have that on their website, checkiday.com. Tomorrow is God's Preeminence Day. Okay. It's National Bacon Lovers Day tomorrow, everyone. So go out and get your bacon on. National Chocolate Pecan Pie Day. National Lemonade Day is tomorrow. Sweet. National Radio Day. Virtual Worlds Day. World Mosquito Day. Really? Really? And that's it. So, World Mosquito Day? Really? Boo. I don't like that. So, yeah. So there's that. So that is the holidays for the last couple of days and for tomorrow also. So as again, Checkiday, CHECKIDAY.com, or go to @checkiday.com on Twitter, and you'll be able to follow along with that. And plus, I also post it every day too when I don't forget. So there's that. So good on that. I'm just going to go down the line here, and we'll probably get done quicker than that. These are all notes that I took today. Neil Gaiman, who is a really good writer, he's written comic books, he's written some really good novels. His most famous one now is American Gods, which is Starz channel. Has just finished its first season of the TV series, I guess adapting the book. And so he's sort of back in the limelight. So, of course, they've done a bunch of mass paperback copies of American Gods, because people who might not have read the book, who watched the show and enjoyed it, are now going to want to read the book. So they've done some mass paperback versions of it. Now, at airports are great. While you're waiting to get on board or you're waiting for somebody, they have lots of newsstands. Now, newsstands are almost all gone. You don't have newsstands anymore, which is a shame because newsstands are really cool. But in airports, they still exist. And so Neil Gaiman was at a layover in New York or something like that. He just happened to be, in a concourse where there happens to be two of these, magazine places that sell books. And sure enough, his American Gods mass market paperback was front and center in one of the kiosks here at the airport in this magazine shop newsstand. So Neil Gaiman, waiting for his flight, he's got time to kill, decided he's going to be a little sneaky. And I don't know if he got the permission of the newsstand to do this or he just did it on his own, but he grabbed every single copy of his paperback American Gods and he signed it and then put them back on the shelf. So if you're like, hey, I need something to read on my cross-country flight, or, I'm going to the beach or whatever, I just want to read, a little paperback, or I really liked American Gods, the TV show, and read the novel it's based on. Oh, hey, look, there's some here at this airport. Let me grab one. I'll pay for it. And they're going to open it up, and it's signed by the author. How cool is that? And he did it at both the newsstands that are in the concourse he was at. So he tweeted about it so people would know, hey, come to this concourse, and if you buy my book, it'll be autographed. And that's a really neat idea too, because if you're following Neil Gaiman and you don't have a copy, or even if you do have a copy of the book and you happen to be in the vicinity of the airport and you're waiting on a flight, hey, go buy a copy and you'll have an autographed copy of the book. That is just one of the neatest stories I'd ever heard. And I think that's really, really cool. And we'll keep along the same lines. One of the first book that really got my attention with him as an author. Now, I knew him from Sandman. I liked his work on the Sandman, the comic, which if you haven't read the Sandman comic, do yourself a favor, go out there and buy every trade. I need to actually get caught back up on it because I haven't read quite everything in the Sandman series yet. And I want to get all the trades or like a omnibus or something like that so I can read it all in one sitting. But he had written a book in the early 90s with Terry Pratchett, who's another really good, funny fantasy writer. It's a book called Good Omens, and it was one of the first major books I remember reading of my own accord back in the late or early 90s. And it's a great book about it's a funny comedic book about the end of the world. It's actually really funny. It's about an angel and a demon who are friends, who've been on Earth for so long that they like being on Earth and they don't want to see it get destroyed in the upcoming apocalypse. And they know that the apocalypse is coming because the Antichrist is on Earth now. So they are working together to try to stop the apocalypse from coming by trying to stop the Antichrist, who's this young boy whose favorite pet in the world is his hellhound. And it's such a great story. And I read it once every 5 to 7 years. It's about time I need to crack that book open again, particularly with the following news. Michael Sheen and David Tennant have been cast in an Amazon, I guess it's Amazon. Yeah, the Amazon is doing a TV series, a streaming series for their service, adaptation of Good Omens, and it's going to star David Tennant and Michael Sheen. and that's a really good cast. They're going to play the two main characters, the angel and the demon, and I'm really excited to see that. I think that's going to be a really great thing to see. What did Scott say? Good Omens goes with me on every vacation. It's your favorite book. Well, it is. It's a fantastic book, Scott, and Tennant and Sheen are going to do a really good job, I think. So we'll see what happens. It's probably not going to be out probably for another year or so because they've just announced the casting. So they'll probably need to do some pre-production, then they got to film it, and then they got to edit, then they'll release it. So I'm thinking probably sometime next year you'll see it through Amazon's streaming service. So got to hold on to that now, don't we? Sex robots that look like Bigfoot. That's all I'm going to say about that. I saw that article today, and it wasn't an onion, and it wasn't fake news. Someone is actually building sex robots, the next big thing. They're going to be building one that looks like Bigfoot. So obviously what I did is I tagged Scott McDonald in it because he's a huge Bigfoot fan. I'm not going to say anything else about that. I'm just going to leave that just sort of float in the air. Sex robots that look like Bigfoot. What the hell? I don't want to fix any problems right now. You shut down. Speaking of other weird things, Jabba the Hutt, is going to be getting his own spin-off Star Wars movie. Now, it was just announced that Obi-Wan Kenobi is going to get his own spin-off movie because what we've got now is we've got The Last Jedi's coming out this year, which is the second in a new trilogy of Star Wars coming out in December. Next year, you're going to have the Solo Han Solo film. Sorry, no pun intended. The Han Solo spin-off film, which is going to be young Han Solo. And originally, it looked like it was going to be directed by the guys who did the Lego movie, and they directed a good portion of the film. And then I guess Lucasfilm or Disney or whatever saw it. They didn't like the tone of it, so they fired them or they quit or something like that. And they hired Ron Howard to do it. So either Ron Howard is reshooting the whole film, or he's reorienting what those guys who directed the Lego movie did with it and is going to reorient it into his own film. So Ron Howard is directing the new Han Solo movie. And I don't know what he's going to be doing with that. So, and then you've got the last Star Wars part of the trilogy coming up the year after that. And then you're sort of in a gray area. You didn't know what was going to be coming up next. So, I mean, there have been rumors that there's going to be a Boba Fett spinoff movie or a Yoda spinoff movie or young Darth Vader spinoff movie, or you've heard a million things. It's now official. Obi-Wan Kenobi is going to get a spinoff movie, which I hope they bring Ewan McGregor back for because he was one of the best parts of the prequel trilogy. And he deserves a chance to do more with Obi-Wan Kenobi, I think. I think it would be a lot of fun to see that again. He's still old. He's still young enough that he could do the role, I think, in a spin-off film. And then this came out, the Jabba the Hutt spin-off movie, which just to me just sounds awful. Who really wants to watch a movie about Jabba the Hutt? Let's be honest about it, really. To be honest, who wants to really watch a movie about Yoda also, you know? I mean, yes, he's a badass in the prequels, but how are you going to... If they can maybe do something similar along the lines of those, make him a complete badass or whatever, make him a Zen, how he got Zen and stuff like that, I guess it could be okay. But to me, it just seems like... I don't know. I don't like these ideas. And now Jabba the Hutt, no. Actually, let me see if I can find the name of that. Apparently, the bird, the ravens, which my football team is named after, the ravens are actually smarter than most preschoolers. So more cunning. I'm sorry, more cunning than human preschoolers. I just found that as kind of a interesting clickbait headline, I guess. I'm going to see if I can find. I meant to do this before, but we went out to Ellicott City for Pokemon Go, which I'll talk about in a little bit. Olive oil spaghetti sauce. Let's see if I can find the name of the one I like. I guess just recipes for that. I don't remember the name of it. I mean, I know where it would be or where it used to be, and I would know it from the way that the bottle looks, but I don't know what the name of it was. Wise Markets, which we have right up the street from us now, has taken away my favorite spaghetti sauce. Now, that might not sound like a big problem for most people, but here's the thing. My kids don't eat spaghetti sauce. My wife prefers the chunky ones with, tomatoes and onions and shit. I hate that one. So I found this olive oil one once, and it has nothing really in it except for the sauce. And they're flavored. You had the 5 cheese, you had the garlic, and you had meat flavored with meat, and you had like a regular basil one also. And it wasn't chunky or thick. It was smooth, and it was delicious. And during the school year, my wife works till 6 and doesn't get home till 6:30, and the kids get back around 5:30. So I make dinner, and then it's ready for when Dawn comes in and stuff like that. And Tuesday is my day. It's spaghetti day, and I'm not the greatest chef in the world, but spaghetti, you can't do that. You pour spaghetti meatballs into a bowl, you mix it up, and you cook it, let it simmer. You do the tortellini and spaghetti, and you make garlic bread, and that's all you got to do. But I like to do it. I turn my music on. I drink some wine, and I make spaghetti. And this was one of my favorite spaghetti sauces. It was easy. It was just, it wasn't chunky. It was just, and mix it all up, and I could eat that stuff like crazy. And now Wise Markets no longer offers it, which really pisses me off. I know it sounds lame, but it pisses me off. So I did that. Nasty ancient crocodile gets named after Lemmy from Motorhead. That's another good clickbait headline. So apparently they found a new species of crocodile from the dinosaur era, and he's a badass. So whoever named him decided to name him after Lemmy from Motorhead. So I don't know the official scientific name, but that's always kind of an interesting topic. Anyway, it's interesting that, to have a species of animal named after you is really kind of neat. I think Spielberg has one named after him also now. There's a startup currently running. They're trying to raise money to put a cell phone tower on the moon. Now, I guess they're looking forward for when humans may go back to the moon and they will need cell reception. Or, if you want to think about it, it doesn't have to be cell tower, but maybe a tower to help keep in contact with Earth because you're going to be so far away. That might make sense, but they called it a cell tower on the moon. Okay, then. Yep. Speaking of crazy, Nike has released a Swarovski crystal diamond sneaker. It's not really diamond, Swarovski crystal sneaker. It's a sneaker that has Swarovski crystals in it. Now, for those who don't know what Swarovski crystals are, they're expensive crystals that, they cut designs out of. I bought my wife a couple of them. I could really only afford the smaller ones, but at least luckily they had some that, ooh, I'm bleeding. Weird. They have some that she liked that were affordable. And I'd done this before kids, so it wasn't a big deal. It was just me and her, and I could spend money on her, a lot more than I could nowadays because of our kids. So actually, I got to wipe off the blood. Apparently, I was just scratching myself and I drew blood. So, let's see what Scott said. Shouldn't they focus on the cell towers here first? Yeah, I still have terrible reception places. I agree, Scott. But there's a startup that they want to put cell phone towers on the moon. So I don't know. And again, it's not an Onion. It's not an Onion headline. It's not fake news or whatever. It's an actual startup. And what I can see is maybe down the line, if you're going to have people on the moon, or you need a tower that can communicate with Earth a little bit better, I can maybe understand that, but they called it a cell phone tower. So I don't exactly know. But yes, I agree. I think they need to build more around here. And in fact, it's really neat. I'm just going to go off on those tangent real quick. It's really neat is that they can disguise them nowadays, so you don't even know it's a cell phone tower. I remember the big stink that happened many years ago near where I grew up. It's about maybe 10 years ago. And it might be longer, maybe 15 years ago, when cell phones were just starting to, get big and popular, and they needed to have these towers to utilize the stuff. They wanted to build a cell phone tower on the grounds of the church right down the street from where I grew up, where I went to church. They were going to make it like part of a cupola or whatever, one of these designs you put on the top of a church or a school to make it look architecturally pleasing. So it wouldn't just be a tower sitting up there, but a lot of people didn't like that. So they rejected that. So what they did instead was there was a shopping center across the street from the church, and they built the tower and made it into a flagpole. So you have the tower inside, and then you surround it with a flagpole. So you have a flagpole literally with a real flag flapping in the wind, and it's a cell phone tower. Now, there was also something similar down at the Outer Banks, and I noticed that my cell phone and Wi-Fi and stuff like that at the house was actually not that bad while on vacation. I've had a lot of bad issues, I guess maybe further up in Corolla, with the Wi-Fi was weak and the signal was weak, and it would break. Even if the Wi-Fi was on, it would break down. I'd have to use my data and stuff like that. I didn't have to use my data at all when I was in the house. I had the Wi-Fi going on, and it was strong and perfect. I probably could have done a show from the house if I wanted to. I was always worried that, we took the computer down there. I was always worried that I've seen how bad the Wi-Fi is further up in Corolla, where it would be weak, and if I was doing a show, it would be like, it'd be like that, and it wouldn't be good for those who are watching. So I decided I wasn't going to. That's why I did 2 episodes before I left on vacation. But then I've been noticed every day. I was like, wow, I have a strong signal, and my phone was working fine. There was no issues. I probably could have done a show, but I didn't know. But there was a cell phone tower disguised. It wasn't as a flagpole. It was like a tree or something. It was disguised as a tree, but you could tell it looked totally different than the other trees there, and you could tell it was a cell phone tower. And I agree. I think they need to do more of that. They need to find, it doesn't have to be a cell phone tower because they themselves are not good looking, but you can always make it look good. You can make it look like a flagpole. You can make it look like a cupola. You can make it look like a fake tree, and it would make things a whole lot better for people like you, Scott, who might be further away from, where a strong cell phone tower is, and make it easier for you to utilize your Wi-Fi and stuff like that. So it's interesting. So Nike Swarovski crystal shoes, I don't even know why that would be utilized for, except just to look good, because it's sneakers. You're going to be running and in the dirt, stuff like that. You're going to have these little crystals on your shoes. And if you're running in them and stuff like that, and they start falling off, these crystals are expensive. I got on these little crystal things about this big, like $100, So I didn't even know how much the shoes were. I didn't even check on that. So with that, let's talk about this. It's right after I've been on the air for a little bit over an hour now. So this is the big story upcoming this week. Monday, the 21st of August, is the total solar eclipse. Now, they've been pushing this for months, maybe even as much as last year. They were talking about what was going to happen this year, because it's the first total solar eclipse that's going to be visible through the majority of the United States. Now, solar eclipses happen all the time. And just sometimes, when it happens or where the sun is in relation to the Earth, there's going to be a lot of times where we're not going to see a total solar eclipse. We might see a partial, or we might not see one at all. You might have to go to Alaska, or you might have to go to Australia, or India, or South America to see a total solar eclipse, or even even a partial solar eclipse. I can't remember when the last solar eclipse was, partial, or otherwise around here. I know lunar ones we've had recently also. But this is the first one, and I think they've been 18 years, maybe longer than that, might be 30 years. The people have been playing old TV newscast of a TV news person from 30 years ago, whatever, talking about the total eclipse that happened at that time and saying the next one won't be till 2017. And so now here we are in 2017. That seems so far away back in the 80s. So now here we are. And August 21st is literally 2 days away, right around the corner. So people have been saying, don't look directly up at the sun. You're going to burn out your retina. So you got to buy these glasses, or you got to make your own eclipse viewing boxes. Now, I'm not advocating staring at the sun because, yeah, you could wreck your eyes, even if it's a total eclipse and it's blacked out because the harmful rays or whatever are still coming down. But in other eclipses, solar ones, I glanced up briefly at the sun to see what it looks like, but I don't stare at it. And I look back at it and I go back around my life. So, and I keep checking back at it. My eyes are fine. I guess if you want to sit down and watch the whole thing unfold, then yeah, you're going to need special glasses or the box or whatever. So my wife is all freaking out about that because the kids will be at camp when it happens. And, she's afraid they're going to burn their retinas out. I don't think they're going to. And so it should be very interesting on Monday. Now here in Baltimore, it's going to start at 1:18 p.m. and the max blotting of the sun is going to be at 2:43 p.m. So that's over an hour of, as you see the sun getting eaten away, bump, 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 and then boom, it's black. And then it's going to be done with at 4:01. So basically it's going to be a little less than a 3-hour event. And, it'll be the last one for, I think there's a really long time before all the United States is going to be able to see a total solar eclipse again. We'll see partial ones, absolutely, but a total one where the sun is completely blotted out, Monday is the last time we're going to be able to see it for a while. So go ahead, knock yourself out. People are going absolutely crazy for the eclipse stuff. It's going to be all over your feed on Monday. You're going to see lots of pictures, video, stuff like that. If you want to actually watch the sun get eaten away, go to Twitter, go to like CNN or something like that and watch the news feed. They'll have the live news feed going on. Hell, Facebook Live might even be doing it live. And you won't burn your retinas out if you're watching it through your phone, And everyone's freaking out that it's going to be like nighttime when it's a total solar eclipse. It's not going to be nighttime. It's going to be like twilight. It's not going to be pitch black. It's not going to be the end of the world. It's not going to be anything like that. It's just going to be like, okay, it's quick twilight and then we're done. Or it's a cloudy day. It's might be a little darker than a cloudy day, but it's all it is. It's not going to black out everything and everything's going to be dark and the end of the world is going to happen. In fact, it's so funny that in South Carolina, their version of Bigfoot is called the Lizard Man. And one of the groups down there that does safety and stuff like that, they did a tongue-in-cheek tweet, saying, watch out during the total solar eclipse, the lizard people might come out, and just watch out for them. So if you see any, run, or don't try to attack them, whatever. So it's just kind of funny that they put out that warning that, hey, it's the total solar eclipse, and the lizard people might be out. So everyone in South Carolina, watch out for the lizard people. Am I excited for the total solar eclipse? Sure, I guess. Not as crazy as most people around here. I've seen a total solar eclipse before. I've seen a total lunar eclipse before. It's a fascinating thing and it's cool to see, but it's not the end all be all, it's the best thing ever. It's neat. And the fact that, it's a scientific thing, and you just got to wonder what a solar eclipse, total solar eclipse, would have portended back in the old days when people didn't know what the hell was going on. They saw the light, big ball of light that's in the sky is all of a sudden going to get darked out, and they probably freaked the fuck out. So that's a fascinating part of it. But an eclipse itself it's neat, but in the end, you might feel a little let down by it. So we'll see. But as I said, it is the first total solar eclipse in a really long time. And it's cool. Space is cool. I love space. And this is great. But I just think people are going a little crazy. But something I can get behind, though, and unfortunately, our Krispy Kreme is still being built. I talked about this a couple weeks ago. In about 10 minutes from here, they just opened up a brand new shopping area. And across the street used to be a Krispy Kreme. And then it came out in the early 2000s and only lasted a couple years. And then it went belly up. And then the building stood vacant for years and nobody was buying it. Nobody was taking it over. So it was getting overgrown with grass and trees and weeds and shit. So when this new shopping center opened with a Wegmans and all these other neat shops, Krispy Kreme decided to revisit this because now you got a big shopping area now instead of a dead factory, which is what it used to be, which wasn't even running anymore. So now you actually have a shopping area that people are going to be coming to all the time. So why don't you entice them to come by reopening a Krispy Kreme in the area? They closed because they were having issues with, making money. And people just weren't coming in and buying Krispy Kreme donuts when you had a Dunkin' Donuts nearby, or they just weren't. So they stopped. And plus, there wasn't really anything else around this place. Now you got all this stuff around there. So now they're going to reopen it in the same building. So I don't think we're going to have it in time for this. But if you have a Krispy Kreme near you, they are creating specialized chocolate glazed Krispy Kreme donuts to celebrate the eclipse because it's going to be black, so the sun is going to be black, so you're going to have chocolate Krispy Kreme donuts. So the Krispy Kreme donuts are like glazed donuts, but now it's going to be like a chocolate glazed donut, which is really, it's a neat idea. And on top of that, and something else interesting, Bonnie Tyler is going to sing Total Eclipse of the Heart live during the eclipse, which is kind of a fascinating thing as well. So you'll probably see that through your internet feed as well, Twitter, Facebook, whatever. So that's going to be kind of cool. So yes, a total solar eclipse is going to be really, really cool, but everybody is ramping it up a little too much. Yes, I know it might be the last one we're going to see maybe in our lifetime. We're going to see plenty of partial ones, but this is going to be like the last one. It seems to me everyone's going a little too crazy for it. I'll be at work. 2:43. Is 15 minutes before our break time. I go to lunch at around 1 o'clock, so I'll be at lunch when it starts. I guess when 2:43 rolls around, I can open up the bay doors and walk out. My friend Gary's going to probably be really excited about it, and I'll probably wear my NASA shirt on Monday just to celebrate that. So that'll be good. So enjoy yourself. Be careful. Don't go blind. Let's see what else is going on. Johnny Depp. Now, yeah, we know Johnny Depp has had his issues lately, particularly with his ex-wife, who's playing Mara in the Justice League movie and in the Aquaman movie. Talk of him abusing her mentally and physically. People are turning on him in droves and stuff like that. But, and I know this might not be a popular opinion, but you got to give the guy a little bit of credit as well, because he's done this a bunch of times. We know his favorite character by far to do is Captain Jack Sparrow, and he does it really, really well. And they released a story this week, which is the second time I've seen a story like this happen in the last year, which shows that while what he did to his ex-wife is not good, he's not an all bad person. He's not doing it out of a sense of necessity or whatever. He's doing it because he likes to do it and he wants to help people. He's filming a movie in British Columbia right now, which is, by the way, by a beautiful part of Canada. And he went to visit the British Columbia Children's Hospital as Captain Jack Sparrow, and went to visit all these kids who are suffering from cancer or have uh, inoperable diseases, or on death's door, or in recovery, or having surgery, or just are just too sick to do anything. And to have someone come in dressed as Jack Sparrow, and some of these kids might not know who he is, but Captain Jack Sparrow is a fun character, and to have someone come in and take pictures with you and hug you and talk to you and ask you questions, and these poor sick kids probably don't get that a lot. They're getting this. It lightens their day and makes their usual horrendous day, suffering from the pain that they are through their sickness. It lightens their day a little bit. Again, it doesn't fix what he may have done to his ex-wife, but he's doing this not because he feels guilty for what he did to his ex-wife, but because he generally cares for these kids. And he did something similar when they were filming the new Pirates of the Caribbean that came out earlier this summer down in Australia. He visited a hospital like this in Australia, and there was actually a girl there who he actually was coming to see personally. She won some sort of contest or whatever, and they videotaped that. They videotaped this, and just the look on her face when he came in and was talking to her and interacting with her, it was just absolutely wonderful to see. Again, not condoning what he did, but he does do good stuff sometimes. As I said, it doesn't make up for what he did to his ex-wife, but still, he does good stuff, and I hope he continues to do that. Speaking of Star Trek, this was a while back I talked about Star Trek, so I'm going to talk about it again. I just found out this today. There is a new royal family in the Star Trek world. Adam Nimoy, who is Leonard's son, who directs documentaries about his dad and about Star Trek in general, apparently got engaged this week to a former Star Trek Deep Space Nine actress by the name of Terry Farrell. She played Dax, who was she was a doctor, and he was like an alien that inhabits different bodies all the time. So he keeps his memories. So he might be in a male, he might be in a female, but he keeps his memories through all of his life, but he's in new bodies all the time. It's basically like Doctor Who, except instead of regenerating himself into a new person, they take the alien body out when the body is not strong enough to keep him, and put him in a specially trained and cared for body that has been selected to be his host body. In Star Trek, Deep Space Nine, which is criminally underrated, it came out the same time as Next Generation. The first two seasons were kind of rough, but then the third season, it found its footing, and it became one of the best, if not the best, Star Trek series out there, because it wasn't focused on a spaceship exploring new worlds and new civilizations. It took place on a space station orbiting a planet outside of a wormhole to another dimension. Now, there were space travel things like that, but the TV show was more about socioeconomic stuff, and had a lot more deeper stories than action adventure Star Trek stories that you expected. And it's actually a much, I find it criminally underrated. And Terry Farrell is the actress who played Jadzia Dax, and she had a relationship with the actor who played Hawk. I can't think of his name right now. Who played Captain Sisko on Deep Space Nine? Avery Brooks. His character, Captain Sisko, had a relationship with Dax when he was a male. They were like best buddies, and now he's got him in his orbit again, but now she's a female, and they still have their memories of what they did. And Dax had a really interesting storyline where she fell in love with Worf, who came over from Next Generation once Next Generation ended, and added a little bit of life to the show, and she ended up marrying him, which is really interesting. And then Terry Farrell left in the 6th season. It was only going to go 7 seasons. She left in the 6th season for contract or whatever, didn't want to do it anymore. And they cast another actress to play. I mean, it wasn't Jadzia Dax. It was a different Dax. It was another symbiote body. And she did her okay job, but it wasn't Jadzia Dax. It wasn't Terry Farrell. And Terry Farrell has said that she was disappointed that she, in herself, that she, at the time, decided not to finish up the series. But the fact is now, in real life, the actress Terry Farrell is engaged to Adam Nimoy. So you've got a nice little Star Trek royal family star. So hopefully they have a long life together and things are good. So good on you. One of the shows that surprised me last year, and I used to watch ghost shows all the time, Ghost Hunters, Ghost Adventures, stuff like that. I used to watch them all the time. I ate them up, and then I just stopped watching. They got boring, formulaic, same thing, and I just stepped away from it. But 2 members of the Ghost Hunters crew, Amy Bruni and Adam Berry, they quit the Ghost Hunters and spun off into their own series on TLC called, or Discovery Channel, I think it was TLC, called Kindred Spirits, where they go to people's houses who are complaining of a spirit bothering them or whatever, and they go in and they do research and they stay there until the problem is solved. It could be 3 days, could be a week, whatever long it takes. They do research by interviewing the family members. They do history of the house, and they discover things. And then they do EVPs and their usual investigations to see if they can catch, any evidence, stuff like that. But just the relationship between Adam and Amy, which is a really great, nice relationship. And I like both people. I enjoyed I guess it was 6 or 7 episodes. I watched all of them. I enjoyed all of them. I even interacted with them on Twitter, and they interacted back with me, particularly Adam always made responses to me, and Amy did every once in a while. But it was always great to hear from them directly, and that was really cool. So their new season of their show, Kindred Spirits, starts September 15th. So if you haven't watched Kindred Spirits yet, I highly recommend it. It is like other ghost shows, but it also has its own little, they don't go exploring haunted locations. They go exploring haunted houses. And they help, they're first and foremost, they want to help the people that live in the house to try to move on like that. And that's kind of a different take on the ghost hunting aspect of it. Now, both Ghost Adventures and Ghost Hunters have done that stuff before, but they focus more on haunted locations, where this is, they go to people who are in desperate need of help that would not be interesting maybe for fans of Ghost Hunters or Ghost Adventures, because it's just about a family, and it might be a family member who passed away. So it might not be a demonic spirit or anything like that. It might just be, and they just want to see for sure that there's something going on. So that's kind of neat. So September 15th, it comes back. I think it's Friday. I think they do Friday nights. Let's talk about Pokemon Go again. As I said before, my wife is insane for the Pokemon Go. I like Pokemon Go, but my wife is absolutely insane for it. We both belong to Facebook's groups for Owings Mills and Owings Mills, Pikesville, and Reisterstown and Glen, stuff like that. We've made some new friends up here. And I talked about this a couple weeks ago on my show with the new raid system that's come out. You have to actually go and you have to get a group of people, and we've conversed and made friends. And now we recognize each other. We contact each other and we do stuff. We did a raid today with a bunch of people I recognized up here. And then Dawn follows something called the Collective, which is a group of Maryland Pokemon Go people who, it's a message board basically, and they talk about what special Pokemon are in their areas and what raids are going on. And you can do subsets with, this is the Reisterstown group and stuff like that, and they all talk amongst themselves. So it's one big service. And they were setting up a big Pokemon event in Ellicott City. Now, Ellicott City is, you might have heard of Ellicott City. Last year, a freak rainstorm dumped 6 to 7 inches of rain in a span of about 30 minutes on Ellicott City. Now, Ellicott City is built on the Patapsco River. So the Patapsco River runs right outside of town. And it's an old style town. It has a main street with old buildings, antique buildings, old buildings that have restaurants and stores and stuff like that. And just old style area. Reisterstown's very similar also. We have a main street that has lots of old buildings, stuff like that, historical. So both Ellicott City and Reisterstown are two of the older cities in Maryland. And so last year, this amount of rain that hit so fast and so sudden caused massive flooding in Ellicott City. I think it killed a couple people. They drowned. And there's also were signs of heroism that people were getting washed away and people were creating human chains to catch them to make sure they didn't drown. And a lot of the stores and homes got damaged badly. And people didn't think it was going to be able to get repaired, but they worked hard, they raised money, and they reopened earlier this year, and now Main Street is running full steam. They've got plans in place now that if it doesn't happen again, but it is a freak rainstorm. It's something that has only happened like once every 50 years or something like that. It just so happened that it hit Ellicott City this time. So there was an event in Ellicott City tonight, and since it's by the Patapsco River, you get lots of water type Pokemons. You got different types. You got like 7 to 9 different types, and they fit the biome. So if you live out in Arizona, you're gonna get a lot of ground and rock types and fire types because it's hot out there. You live here on the eastern seaboard surrounded by water, you're gonna get lots of water types. So my daughter went to have a play date with a friend of hers for about 5 or 6 hours. So Dawn really wanted to go because she made a lot of friends on this collective, and they were going to have this big event down in Ellicott City, which is only about 25 minutes away from here. So we went, Dawn, I, and Noah, my son, and it's been a while since we've been to Ellicott City. It looks really nice. There's a lot of really neat stuff, and we met a lot of people that we'd known from Pokemon Go, and we caught a lot of stuff and did a lot of gyms, stuff like that. So it was a lot of fun. So we did that, and then Dawn, this is her obsession. She bought. There's this bracelet called Gotcha actually. It's a bracelet that you sync it up with your phone. So if you're driving, when you're driving, you're not allowed to do Pokemon Go. And a lot of roads have Pokestops and Pokemon spawn. And they still do now. But if you go above a certain speed, you're not going to be able to spin the Pokestops or catch the Pokemon, even if they spawn. So, because it's dangerous. So they created this device that you sync up with your phone. So when you're driving, it'll automatically spin Pokestops and catch Pokemon that spawn. Dawn bought this for herself. That's how big of a fan she is. As I said, I like Pokemon Go, but I'm not as huge as she is. She's been going raid crazy. She comes back from work and says, "There's a raid down here at 5:30. Why don't you come with us?" And I'm like, "I just got back from work. I really don't want to." And I already got everything I need, really. There are a few people who raid that I don't have, but they don't raid around me anymore. So I don't know what's going on with that, or they haven't in a while, or they do it when I'm at work, So we discovered this week that Mewtwo, which is going to be the next legendary. He's a major character from the anime manga series, and a lot of people had been looking forward to that because when Pokemon Go was announced last year, when they did the trailer, the commercial, it showed them catching Mewtwo. So people were expecting him to show up before now, but he showed up at the Japanese. They did a year event in Japan, and he showed up there. So it'll make his way to America eventually in the next couple of weeks, probably. However, the raid system is different. Now, a raid system now, what you do is you spin a Pokestop at a gym, and you get a raid pass. So when a raid shows up, you get your group of people together, and you all go in at the same time, and you have to use the raid pass to get in. And you get one raid pass a day. So if you don't have raid pass, you go in, you spin it in the morning, you get the raid pass, and you do a raid. You don't get another one till the next day, unless you want to pay for it with your Pokecoins, which you can get through various means. And then you can get one premium raid pass, which will give you another raid for that day, but then you'll get another one tomorrow. Or if you get one Monday morning and you don't raid on Monday and you go to Tuesday, but then you raid on Tuesday, you use your raid pass from Monday, and then after you do the raid, you spin the wheel again at the gym because a new day you get another raid pass. So you can get 2 that way if you want to. But you could only get a max of 2 because it doesn't, like, well, if you don't use it one day, it doesn't keep going. So if you get one on Monday and don't use it Monday and don't use it Tuesday and don't use it Wednesday, but then use it Thursday, you still only get 2. You get the one that you had from Monday and the one you get from Thursday. Monday or Tuesday and Wednesday, they're out the door. Now, what I like to do is, the rating's fun, but I'm just not good at catching the legendary beast afterwards. My kids have got most of the legendaries for me. And I've tried to catch a few myself. I've caught one, but the rest I've never been very good at. In fact, we did a Zapdos today, and I couldn't catch them. Everybody else did in the group, but I didn't. So what I like to do is I like to take down gyms. I'm a member of Mystic, which is the blue team. And then there's the yellow team, which I think they're Instinct, and I forget who the red team is. And they take over the gyms. And there's all kinds of gyms, and they beat up whoever's in that gym, and then they put their Pokemon there, and then other red team members can put their Pokemons in the gym till you have 6, and then you just wait. And then however long it takes for them to stay there, you'll get 50 coins total for how long you stay in there. But just so if you stay there in there for a week, you'll only get 50 coins. You won't get 2,500 or 250 rather, I should say. But I like taking down gyms because I have a rival yellow Instinct guy by the name of King Honky Kong, and I talked about him a couple weeks ago. So I've been continually, whenever he comes out at night, mostly at night, and he and a group of his friends late at night, like 2, 3 in the morning, they take down all the gyms that we took over in the afternoon. And so we get our Pokemon back then. So yellow has it in the morning, and then we go out in the morning. There's some people who work later in the day or whatever. They take over the gyms during the day. Then we can add stuff. And so we have control of them until, once again, 2 or 3 in the morning when King Honky Kong and stuff like that go out and about and do it. So I've got 2 to 3 Pokemon in the gyms now, and they haven't come back to me yet. So I'll probably get them back tomorrow. So we'll see what's going on with that. So, and also one other neat story, Magikarp is one of the most useless Pokemon. He turns into Gyarados, which is an important Pokemon, but Magikarp himself is not a great one, but he pops up all the time down at the Inner Harbor. He popped up a lot here at Ellicott City. But when they start doing this raid thing, they have different level raids. They have like level 1s and level 5s. Level 5s are the legendaries, and they're hard to bring down. And then you have level 1s, which are easy to bring down, and one of them is a Magikarp. And so a group of Pokemon Go players somewhere in California, I think, they took down a Magikarp raid with using nothing but Magikarps, which is fascinating because Magikarps really don't have any fighting skills. So it was always interesting to do that. So it was a neat story. But yes, my wife is obsessed with Pokemon Go, more so than I am, to be honest. And my kids, they're obsessed with it too, but nowhere near as much as Dawn is. So that's all my big news about that. To be honest, I really don't want to talk about what's going on in the world right now. But I think before I do that, competitive vaping is a thing. Vaping is taking the place of cigarettes now, where you get this tube thing and you suck on, I guess it's a vapor or whatever, and it's, the vapor comes in different flavors, but it gives you the same sort of feel for tobacco or whatever you need that you're addicted to, but without, I guess, the harmful side effects of cancer and stuff like that. So you see a lot more people vaping now. But I saw an article that there's now competitive vaping, and I'm not exactly sure how that works. I guess you suck on your vaping tool and see who makes the best vaping mist rejection. I don't know. But I just thought competitive vaping is just a neat headline also. I'll just do it real quick, because it did affect Maryland particularly. Everyone who's watched the show knows I have an issue with I can't even call him the president, but the guy who claims to be the president of the United States. He really isn't, in my eyes anyway. He's a useless piece of shit, douchebag. That's besides the point. So last week, there was an issue in Charlottesville, Virginia, where a bunch of white supremacists were protesting the removal of a Confederate statue on the grounds of the University of Virginia. Now, I'm okay with your right to protest. It's in the Constitution. I believe I'm American, and I believe that if you are the president or a government official or even a citizen, you need to follow the rules of the Constitution. They may seem outdated, but you need to follow the rules of it. That's what the Constitution, that's what our government is. And this administration is nowhere near to following what's in the Constitution. Though they keep claiming they aren't. And that alone should cause them to be impeached and kicked out of office. But they're not, because there's a bunch of pussies in Washington, but that's besides the point. Anyway, so there was a riot that happened when a anti-white supremacist faction came to protest as well. And things got a little heated and things started breaking out, stuff like that. The next day, a white supremacist took a car and drove into a crowd of protesters, injuring a number of them and killing one woman, age 33, I think, very young. I don't think she even had a family yet. Because the asshole likes to promote hate and violence as a means to make their point. So the Confederate statues have been an issue for a while now, and a lot of people have been taking them down. But of course, all of a sudden you got all the Southern Confederate people saying, how dare you take down our history, blah, blah, blah. How would you like we took down your history, blah, 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 blah. And you just want to bang your head against the freaking wall. Because these people who elected this asshole are uneducated and have no idea what the hell they're talking about. I don't claim to be the smartest guy in the world, but I have a bachelor's of arts degree in history. And I also studied the Constitution pretty good. So I know my shit. You guys are a bunch of lame-o assholes. And unfortunately, there are people who I work with who are friends of mine who, when they get on their feeds, they become the racist assholes I've always thought they were. One in particular posted something which just drove me absolutely bonkers. I almost unfollowed them. It's like racism was almost done before Obama was elected. That is one of the most ignorant statements I've ever heard, because this person is uneducated. They don't even vote. But they are racist because they're poor, because they've had a hard life, and it's easy to blame other people for your misfortune. Now, I like this person, and luckily, this stuff never comes up at work. We talk about other stuff, and everything is good. But being friends on Facebook is always a hard thing to do, because I see the stuff that they post that friends of theirs had posted before, which actually drives me bonkers as well. Let me ask you, Southern people out there, and people who are angry that Baltimore City, my city down the street, removed four Confederate statues from the city in the dead of night. Now you're complaining about it. Did you even know there was Confederate statues? Because I didn't. Is it possible? Sure, it's possible, but I highly doubt it. And the only reason why you're protesting is because you are fucking racist, and you're backing your boy, and you find this to be a disgrace. Let me ask you something. The country of Germany has been our enemy in 2 world wars. It's now our ally. World War II particularly, when a maniac by the name of Adolf Hitler took over the country and is basically running it basically how this asshole in power is now. But we're fighting against it. In Germany, they were not fighting against it because they were too powerful and they were going through a hard time. So they let him get away with killing millions of Jewish people. Millions of Jewish people. Millions of Jewish people. Millions of Jewish people. So when they lost the war and Mr. Hitler committed suicide, guess what they did? The new people in power, they tore down everything they could about Hitler, from the Nazi stuff to statues to whatever. It's part of their history, a part that they might be embarrassed about. But they did something about it. They tore it down and they put other stuff up in it. Now, they're one of our allies, one of the most powerful countries in the European Union. And we're bitching and moaning about people taking down Confederate monuments. So let's get a little perspective then. Adolf Hitler, who gassed millions of Jewish people, has no sign that he ever existed via statues or flags or whatever in German cities. He's in the history books. He's never going to get out of the history books because the history books are history. It's in the book. We get it. We study it so we don't repeat it again. We don't forget about it. We don't need monuments to remind us what an animal Hitler was. It's in history books. Read a fucking book, you uneducated pieces of shit. Read a fucking book. It's not that hard. Or maybe you don't know how to read, and that's okay if you don't know how to read. But why don't you fucking learn how to read? Is it hard? Yes, it's hard. But you'll be better off if you know how to read. And if you get an education. You don't have to go to college, but go back and finish high school. Learn some shit. Learn about the Constitution. Learn about history. This drives me absolutely crazy. History is highly important, and everybody treats it like it's yesterday's garbage. Now, there's a group of us who are history majors. A friend of mine, Pat, is a history major. My friend Sarah is a history major. I know a whole bunch of history majors. My aunt is a history major. My wife's aunt was a history major. We know our shit. And we study it because it's interesting, and we learn stuff, and we know there was bad things on all sides. But let's take a look at this. There's nothing, no monuments, no flags, no nothing like that in Berlin or whatever in Germany that even makes you think that Hitler even existed in Germany. But because it did happen, and the Germans don't want to forget because they don't want to repeat the same thing, it's in their history books. They know what that asshole did to their country. They know how bad their country went through after the war, leading up to till they became respected again in the world. They know how hard it was. They had to deal with the Cold War, with the Berlin Wall separating East and West Germany. They came together. They tore down that wall. And now they're one big country. They worked their issues out. Things are good now in Germany. So come to America. Civil War, which despite what you may think, the majority of the Civil War is due to slavery and the business aspects that came with if they lost slaves, how much money Southern plantations and cotton pickers and stuff like that would lose if all of their free labor was released. Free labor, by the way, they treated like shit. So we fought a war over it. Guess what? History is written by the winners. The North beat the South. It was fair. It wasn't anything gimmicky or whatever. We beat them fair and square. And it was Abraham Lincoln is his trying to, after the war is over, trying to hold the Union together, ends up getting killed by an assassin. And then Reconstruction happens with Andrew Johnson, who wasn't a great person, but he helped heal slightly the South and got the country back together. But there was still rampant racism. While slavery was no longer allowed, the Southern plantation owners and other people as well could still treat black people like dirt. And they did not get anything until the Civil Rights Movement in the 1960s. Their life was just as bad. All right, let's back up a little bit. They were no longer slaves. They were free. But they were treated like shit. They had to drink from different fountains. They had to sit in the back of the bus. They had to have their own schools without any. They had a lot of stuff dumped on them because the South was still bitter. So fast forward to the 1920s, 1930s, I guess, and you've gotten enough away from the Civil War. Civil War ended in 1865. So if you think about 1930, 65, 75, 85, 95, 05, 15, 25. It's about 60 years ago, 60 years later. That's a long time. 60 years is a long time. It's almost a lifetime for some people. The South was still the South. They still treated black people like shit. But they were starting to show signs that the black people weren't going to take it anymore. They were going to start fighting back. And that's when the Civil Rights Movement started moving. So the Southerners had one last trick up their sleeve. They still had a lot of people in power in the government. So they started setting up monuments all over the country to their Confederate heroes, claiming the South will rise again, which is a veiled threat that South is going to revolt against the North again sometime, and you black guys and gals are going to be our slaves again. But we can't say that right now because it's against the Constitution. So what we're going to do is we're going to threaten you with the Ku Klux Klan. We're going to threaten you with everyday reminders that you guys were slaves or your ancestors were slaves. They set up these monuments in cities where a number of black people had moved into, and even all across the world. Hell, there's Confederate monuments in Montana. Montana was not even a state, I don't think, during the Civil War. So why the hell was there Confederate statues in Montana? So they're saying, well, if you tear down these statues, you're getting rid of our history. No, history is written down. It's a story that happened. It's in books. Again, oh wait, you don't like to read books. Read a freaking book. Become educated. Learn some stuff. Because the people in power know you're uneducated. That's why they say and do all this shit all the time. Particularly our liar in chief who lies every fucking day. And you believe his shit because you know no different. You're uneducated and you need to get yourself educated. They want to keep you down because you're easier to control that way. If you have some education, then you start questioning things. And when you start questioning things, that becomes a problem for them. Learn something. Become educated. Learn the fucking Constitution. And learn that they broke almost every single rule in the Constitution. The minute he was put in as president, sworn as president, he should have been kicked out because he was already breaking the constitutional law by not revealing, by keeping his businesses in there as well. Read the Constitution. There's a book in Barnes & Noble that has the Constitution in book form. You can leaf through it and read it. and find out that with him keeping his businesses in his name is against the Constitution. Read a book, read the Constitution, become educated, learn stuff. Get past racism. You claim to be religious. You claim to be Catholic. Do you even listen to the Bible? Do you even listen during sermons? Do you listen to the gospel? Jesus always talks about the poor and how you need to help the poor and how you need to give money to the poor and how you need to help out and how you should not hate anybody. You should love everybody. You do the opposite and claim to be Christian. You're hypocrites. So, tearing down these monuments that were put up 60-some years after the Civil War as a means of a threat, basically saying, we're watching you. We want you to remember that you guys were slaves and that someday you're going to be slaves again. That's what it was. That's what it was. Now, I don't agree with people who say they need to melt it down, they need to break it up, whatever. I'm a proponent of history. This is history. If you want to, make a Confederate museum. It's right there in the title, Confederate Museum. Put all these statues in there. Tell your story if you want to. It's history. But bear in mind that you lost. History is written by the winners. The North won. Your history is not gone because a few monuments are down. Monuments that you probably never seen. There's somebody on Twitter I know more than likely never went and knew there were freaking Confederate monuments until they start talking about it on the news. And now he's like, well, why are you getting rid of my history? Did you ever visit the history? Are you even Southern? I don't even think you're from the South. I think you're a fucking racist. And that's what it stands for. Racism. Jesus says loves everybody. Not everybody except gay people, except black people, except the poor, except women. Jesus says love everybody. Look it up in the Bible, you Bible thumpers who claim that in the Old Testament that God is against gays because it's mentioned in the Constitution, or not the Constitution, in the Bible, that God is against gays. Well, guess what? And I've said this before a million times. Read the whole freaking Bible, and you can't pick and choose what parts you use because you can't eat bacon, according to the Bible. You can't get tattoos, according to the Bible. You can't have premarital sex, according to the Bible. And here's something also. If your wife does not get pregnant, or it might even be, or doesn't have a boy, and you die, she has to marry your brother. And she has to get pregnant by your brother. That's in the Bible. I'm not making that shit up. If you want to follow the Bible, if you want everyone to say, in the Bible it says God hates gays, so it must be true, well, guess what? If your wife doesn't have a son, she has to have sex with your brother. If you don't have a brother, guess what? She gets stoned and she dies. Your wife has to be a virgin, according to the Bible. Yeah. Read the Bible. Don't just pick and choose your little things. Don't pick and choose, well, it says right here in this section, God hates gay people, so gay people are wrong. Read the whole Bible. Read that whole section. You'll find a whole bunch of other rules that you're fucking breaking right now. So don't tell me, well, I like shellfish. I like my tattoos, but I don't like gay people. But the Bible says we shouldn't like gay people. It also says you shouldn't have tattoos or eat shellfish, so shut the fuck up. It also tells you, guess what? Don't cheat on your spouse. Don't covet your neighbor's wife. Don't kill anybody. Love your mother and father. I'm not making that shit up. It's in the fucking Bible. Read it. Read something. And then read the New Testament. Guess what? Jesus says love everybody. There is no anti-gay stuff in the New Testament. None. Zero, zip, zilch, nada. Read a fucking book. Read the fucking Bible all the way through, god damn it. And I just cursed. Guess what? I just blasphemed. Guess what? I just broke the law of the Bible. I'm going to go straight to hell for that. Well, no, actually I don't. Because on my deathbed, I can say, you know what? Please forgive me. I sinned, and I'll go to heaven. I'm a Catholic. I believe in Jesus. I believe in God. But I do not believe that the Bible is the end-all, be-all rule book that you have to follow. It is suggestions. They made laws so you don't kill people. I follow the law. I'm not a rebel. I'm not a criminal. I'm not going to kill anybody. I don't have it in me. I don't have the fortitude to kill anybody. Maybe if something happened to my family, would I lose it? It's possible. Could I kill somebody? Absolutely, I could. And you know what? I'm smart enough. I could probably get away with this shit too. But you know what? I have moral compass because I was raised properly. I was educated, and I have my own belief system. I don't listen blindly to some asshole lying his ass off about something because your life sucks. And this person is blaming somebody else for it. And you're like, you know what? It's not my fucking problem. It's his problem. And you become a fucking racist. Let me tell you this. He wants to build a wall so that no illegal immigrants can come in. And hell, he's trying to take people out who are here illegally also. Read something. No, he's not. Yes, he is. He knows you don't read the news. He knows you watch Fox News, and Fox News is not going to cover that shit. It's not fake news, buddy. I'm telling you. There is no fake news. Every piece of news has a little bit of truth to it, a little bit. A lot of it has lies, too. There are lies that can be proved. If you say something that's wrong, they can prove it. Even if the fake news, if they say something that is wrong, and you do a little research in it and find out that it's wrong, say it's wrong. Okay, I'm sorry, I thought you did this one thing. A good example is I thought the asshole who's president, I actually really thought at one time that he said, I'm going to run for president. And it's going to be easy for me, and I'll run as a Republican because all I do is watch Fox News, and I'll just do all this stuff. I thought that was a real quote. He called them idiots. And he did exactly what he said in that interview. So I retweeted a bunch of times, and I found out, guess what? I was wrong. It wasn't true. It was made up. So I didn't retweet anymore. And then when somebody did, I said, hey, no, this is wrong. I might not like the person, but you know what? He didn't say that. He didn't say that. Become educated. Learn the Constitution. As I was saying, so he wants to build a wall to not allow anybody in. He's deporting people who are, some of them are here legally. Some have been here long enough that they are, you could probably legally allow them in here. They're not doing any harm. Guess what? They're not raping people like you said they were. They're just hard workers trying to make a living. Mexico is not a good place. They want to do stuff good for their family, and America was the place to do it. Am I for illegal immigration? No, I don't think it's illegal. I'm not for illegal immigration, but I believe that if they come to this country illegally, they should have the right to try to legalize themselves. Because listen, you say all this stuff about them stealing your jobs. Here's a couple things I want you to think about before I leave for the day. Businesses are the ones who make the decision. Businesses only have one thing in common. They don't give a rat's ass usually about their workers. Their whole reason for being is to make money. They started this business because they wanted to make money. They put their own money into it so they can make money. They have to pay people to do their job because they can't do it themselves. And they're okay with that. They like, in a lot of cases, they like their employees, especially if they're hardworking, stuff like that. But they're business people. The whole point of owning a business is to make money. So if someone comes along who can do the job that you're doing, it might be illegal, but he's be able to do it. That person did not come in and take your job from you. The businessman said, you know what? This guy, we're paying him too much money. We're giving him vacation, all this stuff. We can get the same work done from this guy and pay him a whole hell of a lot less. And he won't care because he's just happy to be here. So they come and say, guess what? You're fired. You're hired. Get to work. The guy did not come in to steal your job. He came in looking for work. They said, yeah, I have a job for you. You can do this guy's job. He's costing me too much money. You're gone. That's one thing. Another thing also is a lot of these people, illegal immigrants, are doing jobs that you would not even want to do. Cleaning bathrooms, farming, being the grunt work on farms and stuff like that. You know, I can't think of the other ones off the top of my head right now, but those are ones that, you know, you want a job, work at Burger King or do custodial stuff or janitorial stuff. No, I'm above that. I don't want to do that. I don't want to work at a septic tank. I don't want to, you know, clean up shit and blood and vomit and stuff like that. I don't want to work really, really hard in the hot sun farming. I don't want to do that. I'd rather work, you know, in an air-conditioned space or a place where I can make some money. You know, I don't want to work hard. These people do. They do the jobs you don't want to do. And you complain about them coming to your country and stealing your jobs. Well, then why don't you do these fucking jobs instead? If your job has been stolen, why don't you go do one of these other fucking jobs that these people are doing as well? Because you're hypocrites. And I didn't want to go off on this tangent like that. And I know I'm going to lose a lot of it. I'm going to get a lot of thumbs down. You know what? I don't give a fuck anymore. That's what I believe. So I'm okay with tearing down the Confederate monuments. They need to be there in the first place. And we're not tearing down your history. Your history's in the fucking books. Read a book. Or go to a museum. Hell, there's probably museums. There's Confederate graveyards. How many times have you gone to a Confederate graveyard? How many times have you gone to a museum? How many times have you gone to see this monument? Now, there might be some people who might have actually gone to do that. I don't know for sure. But I can very well tell you, guess what? The majority of people, not going to do that. As I said, they probably didn't even know there was Confederate statues in the city until they mentioned on the news that they're being taken up. And then all of a sudden, oh, you're tearing up our history. You didn't know they were there, asshole. You probably walk by it every day and didn't even think twice about what it was, or even be interested in what the hell it was, because you don't care. You're uneducated. You don't care. You don't care until it feels like your beliefs, racist sons of bitches that you are being trampled on, and now it becomes a problem. I guarantee you, if those were statues that were of, you know, black heroes or northern heroes or whatever, you'd be like saying, good riddance to that bullshit. Yeah. Read a book, your history, your history, we're tearing up your history, it doesn't matter, you know, it's stupid. Because you're hypocrites. And that's how you always have to look at things. Look at what they would do. Think of all this stuff as, what if President Obama or what if Hillary Clinton was doing what Donald Trump was doing now? I guarantee you, what if it came out that Hillary Clinton won the election and that Russia, that something came unearthed that that Russians helped her win the election? I guarantee you the Republicans would be throwing up their arms, say, impeach the bitch, we're going to throw her in jail. They would be having they would be fast forwarding impeachment processes. She probably would have been impeached and in prison by now already. if Hillary Clinton was found out to be in collusion with Russia. But guess what? She wasn't. Your boy was. And now you're like, not a big fucking deal. Hypocrites. 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 That's what you are. That's what you are. If you believe any of this bullshit. Just think to yourself, what if the tables were turned? Always think about that, how you would react to that. And then don't go around saying, well, why are you making a big deal about it? Because you would make a big deal about it if it was happening to you. I'm done. It's after midnight. I'm tired. I only got one more day off, and then I gotta go freaking work again for another 5 days. Scott, sorry I went off on the tangent. Thanks for watching. I want you all to have a good night. Next week, I'm going to try to lighten the mood a little bit with a comic show with MJ Khan. I just don't know when it's going to be because I'll be at Hershey Park probably Saturday, maybe even to Sunday. It might not be till Sunday night. It might not be till, it might be Friday, or I might not doing it all, and we'll have to figure out some other time to do it. But MJ said he's in for another episode. You got scurry there for a minute. I almost ran died. But I agree with everything you said. Thanks, Scott. It's after midnight. I'm going to bed. Thanks for watching, Scott. Everybody out there watching. Sorry. I know you're probably going to leave some evil comments, but you know what? I highly doubt anybody who backs that asshole in office is even going to watch this show. So I'm not worried. Bye, guys. Thanks, Scott. See y'all next week.